100% we're augmenting them. There's no AI, at least I don't think in the next 3, 5, and maybe even 10 years, there's no AI that's going to turn a wrench on a refrigerator sealed system.
I'm Jake Aaron Villarreal, born and raised in Silicon Valley. I'm here to take you behind the scenes and share what it's like to be a startup founder, the journey they're on, the problems they face, the products they build in an effort to make our lives better. I'm excited to have with us today Justin Tannenbaum. Justin, welcome to the show.
Jake, thank you so much for having me. Pleasure to be here. Super excited to be on the pod. Long-time listener, first-time caller.
Really cool. Well, a lot in your background I love. For the listeners that don't know, I'll give you a little background on Justin. He leads the company iVantiq AI, the AI co-pilot built to help technicians solve any service call. iVantiq is building the world's largest repair graph powering triage, parts intelligence, and real AI agents that cut callbacks and boost time fixes across every field service workflow. I mean, who out there isn't working on something with your hands and building something or fixing something, or service industries that need help with AI? And we'll learn a lot more from Justin of exactly how they're tackling this problem. Before we do that, Justin, where are you joining us from today?
Nashville, Tennessee, Music City, USA, man.
I love it. God, what a town of creation and creativity and technology. I mean, for those that don't know, there's a massive surge in technical innovation coming out of Nashville and talent and companies. So excited to bring Nashville to Silicon Valley, which is where we're based, and see what kind of story we can tell based on what you're building. I know it's amazing. So a little bit more before we jump in about you, Justin. Tell us kind of the things that shaped you into really starting from somewhere and becoming an entrepreneur today, and kind of some of maybe the major things that really impacted you being a technology builder today.
Yeah. Gosh. So first career right out of college and even internship, I worked at Electronic Arts. I was in their marketing department, and kind of our department mission was, play with, not sell to. And so I worked on the Madden and NCAA team there.
Nice.
Spent some time in the Bay, or outside the Bay in Redwood City. And while working on Madden and NCAA, I would see the QA engineers, catching a pass like 10,000 times, right? Trying to break the physics engine. I'd see the engineers coding, and I just remember walking by like the pod one day, and I was like, man, that would be an amazing hard skill set to have. And don't get me wrong, like marketing and sales, I think will always be a great skill set for any recent college grad. I'm not, poo-pooing on it, but I was like, man, I wanted to have a hard skill. And I was like, I think this web development, software engineering thing is going to be it. So I did what any, 22, 23-year-old does, and went to YouTube at the time, kind of Khan Academy, and started like understanding what HTML is, what CSS is, JavaScript, and, kind of what web development is and looked like. And obviously was kind of in tech adjacent roles. That really kind of started my foray and interest into software development, technology, and definitely like shaped a lot of me, like who I am today. From there, I moved back to Tennessee, to Nashville. Often people ask me like what brought me here, and I always say, it was a woman, but not a sad country song like many of folk who have moved to Nashville on behalf of a woman. That lovely woman's now my wife and mother of my two children. But got my start in software engineering, software development, worked my way into product management, mostly in the healthcare technology space. And as you mentioned in kind of your introduction here, Nashville is a booming tech ecosystem. Most relevantly, we get known for and kind of put into a box around healthcare technology. All the major Fortune 500 healthcare services companies and health systems have a headquarter here in Nashville. So we have a ton of healthcare technology. We also have a pretty vibrant startup ecosystem, people building in the built world, people in fintech, people in insurance tech. It's not all just healthcare. Of course, we obviously got entertainment and the services that go along with that. But, I like to say myself now, I'm a recovering software engineer. I'm not coding as much as I'd like to be, or really am, just focusing more on the product and on the business these days. But yeah, that's kind of some key milestones and key things that really help shape me into the technologist I think I am today.
Yeah, really cool. Yeah, everyone has their own path, and I like kind of where you came from and what you've built, and we won't dive too much into this, but we also, in our previous pod prep call, you're really a true entrepreneur. You got multiple entities, multiple things going on, which if you're interested, you could find out more talking to Justin directly, but lots of cool innovation and really just you're an entrepreneur at heart. You think, you look at problems that can be solved with technology and you go out and do it, which is half the battle. I want to just talk about what you mentioned, Madden, because I'm a huge NFL fan and huge Madden sports guy. And, there was a documentary on Madden and the creation of it. And what an enterprise that came to be. Like when you look at what happened there and now you're building your own software company, can you see any parallels, any things that you learned there that you knew that if you did it your way, you would do it differently?
Man, that's a great question and a tough one. I mean, I would love to be in the room like in the early days of what EA looked like early, kind of that 0 to 1, 1 to 10, like being the first 50 employees, I think would have, I'd probably be better suited to answer that question. But there's a couple parallels and a couple things I take away from, my time there and elsewhere. One, and not necessarily game development, but I think any innovation development, any product development, whether you're building an API, you're building the next great consumer app, it's all about your people, right? It's all about the culture and the tone you set. It's about hiring great people, getting out of their way, letting them, carry the torch forward, letting them make mistakes, letting them, take ownership and pride, and really setting that, the culture for things. I think the first 10 hires are probably always like the most key of success. Those first 10 set the culture, they set the tone, they set the energy, they set the pace of any new company. And I think that is probably one of the most overlooked and underrated things about building and innovating products or building a new company. It's probably also like the biggest lesson learned there. And I'm sure, and I'd be curious your thoughts on it. I'm sure you see that in your space, right? People are coming to you to work with you or tapping you on the shoulder like, hey, we need a XYZ engineer. I'm trying to source, ABC, can you help me source and find it and staff it, right? Culture and people is the most important thing.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's such a important aspect of the company because technology is great. It's an idea that you then have to build, and with the right people, on the bus, you execute well and you succeed. But yeah, we kind of look at it as, you've got people or talent is kind of one bucket. You've got operations of how you actually execute, and then you've got systems and how those systems work and are orchestrated to really deliver, whatever problem you're trying to solve in the market. So we really own the people side of it, which is a vast majority of companies. And it's a big psychology bowl of, different puzzles to work through and figure out. But at the end of the day, it's all about the people. And the fact that you've had multiple companies that you've been able to build and manage and just operate is, really cool. You've got to have a compass on what type of people you're looking for. It sounds like you've got that. When you look at your current company today, iVantic, for the listeners, what inspired you to create it? And let's talk about the problem you're solving there.
Yeah. So kind of, I'll tell you about the origin story and maybe allude a little bit, touch on my background there as well. So you mentioned I own entrepreneur at heart, have a couple irons in the fire, so to speak. One of them is my own software development studio where we build, ideate, maintain, and or become companies, product engineering team or partner. iVantic was the first product we built ourselves, but it didn't start out this way. We actually started a product called API Wise, and it was really to scratch our own itch in marrying natural language and artificial intelligence to basically chat with any API or any API endpoint. And the problem we were trying to solve for ourselves is like every product engagement or development engagement we have, it's like the client always asks, hey, can you integrate X, Y, and Z system? Can you integrate this API into our workflow, our system, our process? And the answer is always yes. But we, in practicality and in tactical execution of that, you find out that these API docs stink and that is hard to integrate, or they're not well written, or the use case that you're using them for, is maybe a little rough around the edges. So like when we were wondering, maybe we can use AI to, chat with any API endpoint. And so we actually launched the product, internally, spun it out externally, got through like our alpha testing phase with like the first 100 users. And the feedback was kind of the same. Like it was a bunch of engineers, there's a bunch of like really well-known firms that found us and were testing the product. but we didn't make one sale. No one wanted to pay for the product. And the feedback was, yeah, I was, I have this, Jira ticket that I got to integrate this API and their docs stink. And I was trying to use your solution to, help me with the integration. And so we kind of like went back to the drawing board, and I'll never forget it. The kind of the key insight and the key story of iVantic was, it was about a year ago, middle of winter, snowstorm here in Nashville, which is kind of rare, knocked my HVAC out. And I had a 2-month-old, 2-month-old at a time and a 2-year-old at a time. And my first floor is no heat. And it's like, 15 degrees outside, 6-8 inches of snow. And I'm sure you've been in anything home service related, especially HVAC, is just rampant with private equity roll-ups, and trying to get them to come out is better, but the pricing is insane these days. So I was getting quotes for like, a 4-ton split unit system was like everywhere from 15 grand to 25 grand.
Wow.
And it's just, it's that time of year. They can kind of name their own price. Private equity backed, like prices are sky high. I was like, this is crazy. So I was like, I wonder if I can fix it myself. So I grabbed the manuals. Well, first I went down to the equipment, unscrewed the service plate, looked at the actual data plate, grabbed the serial model, equipment information, found the manual, the service manual, the parts manual online. And I was like, you know what? I think I might be able to hook this up to my OpenAI account. So I wrote a little Python script, hooked that up, dropped in my files, and I started like talking to the equipment, like if I was a servicer and I didn't know what to do. And it led me to like figure out like what was wrong with my equipment. Turned out I had a cracked heat exchanger, and it's like very dangerous because it can leak gas all into your place. So I had to buy a new equipment anyway, but I was actually able to like triage and diagnose what was wrong with my HVAC. And I'm not an HVAC tech. So I said, I think there might be something here. I think this might be worth a hard pivot into, I guess the industry lingo now is like, vertical, SaaS or vertical AI solution. And, immediately we didn't pivot. I immediately contacted everyone in my network who owned a service company. My old high school friend, Ben, shout out to him. He took me up on the offer, allowed me to come out to Dallas, Texas, and shadow his entire service crew. I ran service calls, did a rotation in the CSR office in their parts warehouse. And I had this like rinky dink, alpha prototype of the potential pivot. And I'll never forget it. I have my kind of alpha prototype there, just like testing the hypothesis, like, can this work? I'm sitting with the service manager inside, his 60-person, their appliance, the nation's largest nation's leading Sub-Zero Wolf Cove appliance repair in Dallas. And I'm sitting with the service manager, we're fielding calls. His technician calls. I have my app up on the speakerphone. And the technician, hey, I'm working on a Sub-Zero, 650 error code, ABC123 is popping up. What does that mean? And the service technician is about to like touch his mouse, open up the browser, and log into the manufacturer to like pull the manual and look up the error code. I just capture that data on our app, hit send. Before he can even double click the Chrome browser, app responds back, it's XYZ. He looks at me, I look at him, my mouth's wide open, his mouth is wide open. And we had like both had this like aha moment that we were actually onto something, and how AI can be an assistant to technicians out in the field, and really even a productivity enhancer for in the office. And it was at that moment, light bulb went off, hard pivot, turned the engineering team around, flew back to Nashville. I was like, guys, we're all in on this. So that's kind of our origin story from, a very cold winter with, 2 small kids and a wife to now one of the leading AI agents for field service management in the country.
Yeah. Wow. That's amazing. I love that, because everybody has essentially one of those systems that you have, and they break down and you have to get them replaced. But you're really helping the service providers do their job better and faster and cheaper and with more accuracy, which ultimately helps the customer and helps them too. So that's really, I like that win-win-win solution. If you look at the product that you started to build, so that was really how you built it. Do you remember your very first customer that you actually then went to market and started to see either leads coming through to your website or companies starting to use it? How long did that take?
Yeah, it took about 4 months, and everything's just started like clicking inbound. Like I wasn't out selling. We really were selective. Like the first handful of customers we did pilots with, So we were still just, really just a team with a hypothesis, right? We were out there just trying to prove it. And, the system had some bugs, and it was a rough alpha. That first kind of 3 pilots, every client converted and started paying and found value in it. We went through a beta, and they continued to pay and continued to add and request more things. And then everything just scaled like inbound from there. I think, it's a combination of a couple of things. One, it's an absolutely massive TAM, right? If you talk about just like field services in general across appliance, HVAC, commercial kitchen, commercial equipment, generator service, etc. So one, massive TAM. Two, we get to ride the AI wave, right? These frontier models are now great enough to enable us to do the things that we want to do. And then three, you have an industry that has a 75,000 technician shortage over the next 3 to 5 years, right? Techs are aging out. All of our good techs are retiring. They're exiting the workforce, and we don't have enough technicians to backfill or replace them. And we can't onboard them fast enough or train them fast enough to retain them. So kind of a combination of like all those three, kind of like a perfect storm to launch us or propel us forward into kind of this inbound flurry of requests, qualification, demos, pilots, post implementation, go live, payment, etc. And that's where we are today.
Yeah, really cool. I had mentioned like Service Titan, some other big companies that are, in the market. Where do you fit? Where does your application fit in? It's agentic, it's AI agents, I'm assuming. Yeah. So like, where does it fit in the market?
Yeah. Well, we've purposely like steered clear, at least temporarily, of becoming like a business management software. So the Service Titans of the world, the House Call Pro, the Jobber, the Service Trades, the Service Fusion. I mean, there's dozens and dozens of, all-in-one, solutions. We've purposely kind of sidestepped all that, and we really see ourselves as the AI middleware where we can sit on top of or next to your business management software and integrate with it. And really, how we integrate is we actually pull all of your past work orders out of those softwares and do a training run for the AI on it. So that it has context, it has your data, the diagnosis, the symptoms, the parts used, has the intelligence of all that locked, data inside the business management software. We call that kind of, first party data. And then we've got a whole bunch of proprietary secret sauce for third party data that we layer in, think service manuals, installation guides, warranty guides, parts manuals, parts catalogs, distributor catalogs, etc., that we can, mash together to really give the technician kind of that second brain or kind of AI powered brain. So we're kind of sitting on top of or in between the technician and their business management software. And we view ourselves as kind of that AI middleware, AI layer, intelligence layer. And we take it a step further is like once we're integrated with the business management software, we've done the training runs, right? Then we can actually go from reactive and historical to proactive intelligence, meaning our service agent, what we call our service agent, he can actually start pre-triaging all of your future jobs. So, Jake, say you own a HVAC company, you want us, we're your client of ours. You can actually tap our service manager agent to look at all of your work orders and jobs for tomorrow and in 48 hours in advance. We're able to grab the customer data, we're able to grab the equipment data. We're actually able to pre-triage and pre-diagnose and make part recommendations before your technician ever rolls to the homeowner, to the building's shop. So they're coming with a service plan in hand, and therefore increasing their first call completes, improving gross margin, and really helping that service company hit their revenue numbers.
Yeah.
And then it gets more fun, and we got all sorts of bells and whistles beyond that, but that's one of like the key workflows of our service agent.
Yeah, that's really cool. So talk about the service agents. How many do you have today and how are they defined? You talked about the one you just explained. Are there other agents within the application?
Yeah. We actually have 3 agents live today. Technically, there's more, but we brand them as 3. We have our service manager agent. Our service manager agent can triage, can diagnose, can help a technician like with step-by-step guidance. It can help a green technician or a newbie, technician have all of the knowledge of an older tech or answer any kind of question about the piece of equipment or the customer that they're visiting or seeing. And so while the service agent can help the technician write their post-job visit summaries, like what they did, use correct grammar, correct English, just some kind of like little productivity gains, and kind of help the technician automate some of the data entry, right? Technicians don't want to sit in front of your house for 15 minutes and type up their notes, right? They want to go get on the road to their next call. They want to fit in another service call. They want another chance for commission or their spiffs or however, they're incentivized. Or, heck, they want to get home 15 minutes sooner to their family, right? And so they're not burned out. So that's one of the things our service agent does. Our parts agent can break down equipment into exploded, diagrams and views. It can give part recommendations. It can tell you part name, part description, part number, part substitutes. It can break down equipment into its serial ranges or serial breaks so that it has the correct parts. It can tell you what parts are where. It can authenticate as you and actually go to your preferred distributor or distributors and source parts location and who has the best pricing for a part. And it can do everything kind of like parts, related, or it can say, hey, we actually have this in stock. We don't have it in stock, etc. And then we just launched our HR agent that can assist field service companies with answering kind of the same HR related or SOP related questions that techs have, like what's our vacation schedule? Do we have tomorrow off? How many vacation days do I have? Kind of, or what's our uniform policy? What's this policy? Really deflecting and allowing technicians to self-service, or deflecting all these questions from going to management or to an owner of a service company. And that's our third agent we just launched. And we're gearing up for quite a few more. We're starting to think about route optimization and dispatch agents, how to optimize our route based off of the technician's skill set or the technician's familiarity with equipment. Right, you might be fantastic at HVACs and stink at train HVACs, but are great at Goodman's. Right, just as a bad example. If you're horizontally integrated, you might be great at HVAC, but really bad at appliance. So let's send the other tech in your area who's great at appliance on this service call, right? So we can increase that first call complete. So we're looking at that. We're looking at voice and phone and that kind of CSR function. So after hours call or inbound support when peak hours, what does that look like? And there's just so much room for, agents and kind of workflows here for us to really innovate and lead. But yeah.
Yeah, that's really cool. Yeah, I like the fact that you've got a plan for multiple agents that you'll orchestrate that will help run companies better. And I like the routing aspect of putting the right people on the right projects at the right time, because, we see that all the time here. We live in a small town, but even like we have our own like Uber service that's paid for by the city, which is not Uber. It's not any third party. It's actually vehicles purchased by the city, and it's free for the citizens, which is really cool. The challenge is the routing is just totally upside down. So, people plug in when they want someone to come and pick them up, and it could take 10 minutes. It could take 35. Like the routes are just not optimized. AI is like perfect opportunity there for that system. But if you look at like your company today and you think, okay, where do I want to be in 18 months? What's the gap between what you need to do or want to do and to achieve what you want to do in 18 months? Is it a people problem? Is it an operational problem? Is it a systems problem?
It's not a systems. I think our product's pretty awesome. And I probably gonna give myself a pat on the back for that one, and my co-founder Lukash.
Nice.
It's not really like a problem. It's not like a product problem right now. I think the problem for us to get to where we want to get to in the next 18 months is really two things. Like one, it's understanding distribution and like how we get more people to know about us, right? And like we're working heavily on that right now. Like what levers to pull, like what is paid performance looking like, what is organic content and SEO and everything look like. And it's also, quick side note, it's also like a weird time in technology to be building, right? Because with Claude Code and OpenAI and all the models out there, like it's not that we're vibe coding, but there is like pieces of our product that we're kind of vibe coded, or there's a unit test and a creation test that a human engineer didn't write, but like we prompted our way to in our product. But so it's not really like a product problem, it's more a distribution problem. And then I think part of that is also a people problem. We are exploring raising a round of funding to kind of pour some gasoline on the fire here. And part of that is like people, right? We actually can't keep up with demand of implementations. We're kind of resource constraint at the moment. So I'd say it's a distribution problem, it's a people problem, and then maybe third tier. It's a data problem because we have a really big vision, right? It's become the nation's world's largest repair graph. That's a pretty big, hairy, audacious goal. There's a lot of manufacturers. There's a lot of pieces of equipment out in the world that we would need to scale on and to train, have data on. So part of it is just super fragmented ecosystem across like equipment, across the field service world, so training data. But we've got this product to solve that. It's just a matter of sourcing it and running our training models on it. So.
Yeah, got it. Yeah, sounds like a startup. Got a lot going on, a lot to think about, how to prioritize, what to focus on, and how to get it done. People are obviously the backbone of the company. But when you look at AI today, what we're seeing in the market is there's one kind of blind spot that a lot of founders in AI startups in particular are learning. And the ones that are achieving a lot of success right now from what we're seeing, and they're hiring a lot, is the companies that are making sure that their deployments and their implementations are successful so that the drop off is not huge. And how they're doing that is through, forward deployed engineering. And some companies have them and some don't even know what it is, or the titles are solution engineer, but they're not really like business acumen developed, and you can't put certain people in front of certain problems to get the answers you want. Vice versa, you got too much of the salesperson and not the technical, and they fall down. So that's where we're seeing a lot of demand in your sort of structure of a company. Is that part of your plan, or do you already have that in place today?
Yeah, I think I'm probably like every other AI startup at the moment, where early pilots either succeed or fail during their implementation. And I think it's probably a little bit more true in enterprise. And I was gonna say, like, aren't forward deploy engineers really just like a new brand for solution engineers? Like, it's kind of like the new thing on Twitter X. Like, I think I read something this morning from Harry Stibels about deploying in Fortune 500 companies. It's no longer just enough to have implementation or customer success implement or be there. You have to have a FDE, right, forward deploy engineer to see its success. I think I'm like a lot of other startups, and I have made that mistake of doing it without, and had a pilot that I thought was gonna go really well and didn't, or seen like usage just fall off a cliff as soon as we like handed over from implementation to success. So I think there's a ton of value in forward deployed engineers. I think it makes a ton of sense, especially if you're selling up market into the enterprise or like upper middle market. Where it doesn't make a ton of sense maybe is like the SMBs, right? It's like you really only need 10 people adoption, or if you're selling into like a HVAC company that only has 7 techs, and 2 people in the office and an owner, like there's only so much an FDE can do there.
Yeah.
But I think it's more about like from your implementations about like productizing the implementation, as well as making the product easy to onboard and ramp, and so that your customers can reach that aha moment quickly. For us, I think as soon as we get that, we get integrated to their business management software, that's like our like sticky point, right? Because as soon as our agents now pre-triaging all of your future calls and future jobs, like that's a big like it's hard for it's hard for a company to shut that off or like not see the value, because typically in the past how that would work is they have to pay someone like fully burdened 95K a year to do that job, and our AI agent can do it for 10% of that, right? So that like that's interesting. But I think as we continue to implement clients and we continue to grow, and candidly, we continue to move up market, I think the forward deployed engineer model makes a ton of sense. Standardizing data, assisting clients with their data. A lot of clients don't really understand or know what they have or how to get to it, or tweaking, some meta prompts or something that's very specific to a client. I think the concept makes sense, but let's just call it what it is. It's solution engineering, 3.0.
Yeah, exactly. Well, really cool to kind of hear where you guys are at as a company. When we look at your company today, is iVantiq augmenting human technicians, or are they eventually replacing them? And I think I know the answer to it, but from your perspective, what are your thoughts there? And how do you see the field service workforce, and what's that look like in 10 years if you succeed?
100% we're augmenting them. There's no AI, at least I don't think in the next 3, 5, and maybe even 10 years, there's no AI that's going to turn a wrench on a refrigerator sealed system. There's no AI that's going to come in and replace the door gaskets on your refrigerator. There's no AI that's going to come in and fill your HVAC up with, Freon. So we 100% are augmenting a workforce that's burnt out, that's tired, that's aging out, and that we don't have enough of. We are up leveling, new techs. We are making current techs more productive so that they can have an extra service call a week or two, or they can get home to their family 30 minutes, quicker every day because they're not doing the mundane data entry or data tasks that an AI is perfect at. We're augmenting those technicians with that second like AI intelligence brain in their pocket, right? So they don't have to carry around binders of manuals in their truck. Everything that we do, we are optimizing for the technician's experience to be that catalyst to make them the most productive that they can be, to help them, and definitely by no means replace them. And to the second part of your question, where do I see field service in 10 years? I don't know if it's necessarily field service, but I think it's any business, right? How are we using, I actually talked to a lot of techs, I talked to a lot of service company, execs, and they're like, man, it's just another tool, right? It's just like having a screwdriver or, the hammer in your tool belt. A tool is still a tool, and a fool with a tool is still a fool, right? But I still think, I believe that, AI, whether you want to call them, AI wrappers or these new vertical agents, they are all just going to be productivity gains. They make our workforce more productive, more intelligent, and those that leverage it today and get ahead of it will be that much ahead of their competition and be ahead of the game than those that wait.
Yeah, well said. I'm going to play devil's advocate here a little bit. There's lots of companies building AI agents and the landscape's exploding. Everyone's building agents. As you look at your business, is there a technical moat or is there something that's hard to replicate that you can kind of fend off the competition that may also be building something similar?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think we have I think we're positioned, us and a couple of our competitors are really well positioned in terms of a moat of one, domain experience and domain expertise. You can't just go into like a new market and say, hey, my agent's going to automate this if you've never been if you've never done that job, or like you've never actually run service calls before, or you've never spoken with a service company owner, or you've never spoken to a service company manager, or you've never turned a wrench on a piece of equipment. So one, I think it's that. Two, I think field service in particular is interesting because, no offense to your listeners in SF or Silicon Valley, but like it's not a sexy industry, right? They want to go build AI for self-driving cars. They want to go join Anduril and build the future of warfare. No one wants to come work in like AI for your HVAC, your refrigerator, your oven, your microwave, right? But I think that's what makes this industry exciting to me. And then three, it's a data moat. Our unique, value prop is because we source first party and third party data. There's a massive undertaking that a competitor would need to have to challenge us or to come in. Many have tried even before us. I think many tried and failed, but I think we've got the right people, the right product, the right systems process in place that we're starting to see the fruits of our success and have a very defensible position in the market.
Yeah, really cool. What's the business model for those HVAC owners out there or anyone out there that's like, hey, I want to try this company? Like, what's that look like for them to pay? Or is it a monthly subscription? Is it per seat? What's that look like?
Yeah, great question. So unlike our competitors, you can head over to iVantiq.com/pricing. All of our pricing is transparent, simple, and open for all. Right now, it's a per seat license fee. I think it starts at $39 a month per technician, up to $59 per technician. And then we typically do an implementation fee to get you up and running on that initial training run, or two after that, with our forward deployed engineer to make sure
there you go.
Successful.
Nice. I like it. Well, excited to kind of see how things go for you. What are you excited about as we head into 2026? Is there anything on the roadmap that we haven't discussed that you're like gearing up to build or promote?
Yeah, we're super excited kind of into 2026 is we're going to be entering kind of the billing side of things, kind of our billing agent or our price book agent. So helping technicians and service company owners, do profitable work and really kind of build tooling around that. And then kind of financial integrations. A lot of our customers are asking, for kind of the FP&A side of what agents can do. So I think I'm really stoked about what that looks like in 2026.
Yeah. Wow, that's amazing. Well, before we jump off here, you're also launching a podcast, right? So tell us a little bit about that. What was the inspiration behind that?
Man, Jake, you were the inspiration behind that. Are you kidding me? Yeah, no, thank you for bringing it up. We're launching our own podcast called Agents of Change, a podcast all around AI agents and talking to industry folks, both in field service and outside of field service, about AI and AI agents and how folks are using AI inside their companies or inside their service companies. Tips, tricks, tools of the trade, talking shop, and really just diving deep into all things.
Yeah, exciting. Well, I'll be your first subscriber when you launch and look forward to hearing and learning from your network as well. Um, I want to thank you, Justin, for coming on and sharing your company and what you're building, and excited to keep in touch with you and see what happens in the future. And I also want to thank the listeners for listening today. It means a lot to me. You spent your time with us. I'm your host, Jake Aaron Villarreal, signing off for now, but can't wait to catch up with you all on the next episode. Until then, Justin, the world, take care. If you like what we're doing, don't forget to subscribe. Leave a review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen. And follow us on YouTube, where we go behind the scenes to learn what it takes to be a startup founder.